Hey everyone, welcome to Hyphen's third LinkedIn Live. My name is Richard Lee. I'm the creative technologist here at Hyphen, as well as being one of the firm's co-founders. And I'm joined here today by Karsten Cramer, our content strategy lead. Hey Karsten.
Hey Richard, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. I see you're not in the office today, you're remote.
I am remote as I have been since starting at Hyphen 7 years ago, but yeah, very happy to be here today and looking forward to this conversation.
Cool. Yeah, today's Hyphen Live, we're tackling the topic of B2B Cornerstone content. And we're going to dig into how it can support your business goals and where to start with creating effective Cornerstone content. Before we get into the nitty gritty, I want to share something with everyone. This is something that Karsten and I were involved in about 20 years ago. This is our integrated marketing communications plan for COM 335 for Tim Jones back in Queens. So Karsten and I go way back to Queens Commerce. We've known each other for a very, very long time, and we continue to work together today, which is, I think, amazing.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I remember you. I don't remember that course so well, but I do remember that. I do remember the project.
Really well in this course. I mean, not a lot of red marks that I see. This is all about like demographics and audience segmentation, all the foundational stuff that we've learned, and what we do today here at Hyphen kind of came from this course. So maybe you should brush up on it or something.
It all helps. Yeah, I'll check it out in Toronto in December. I'll flip through that again.
In time. All right. So what are we talking about today? Cornerstone content. Really interesting topic. A lot of people are talking about Cornerstone content and using it in their marketing strategies and plans. Karsten, could you help us understand what Cornerstone content is?
Certainly, yeah. So I think ultimately Cornerstone content, it's a type of marketing content, but what kind of sets it apart from your other types of marketing content is really the focus on kind of in-depth and educational information. So it's not your brochure or the services page on your website where you're kind of trying to sell yourself and say what you do. It's really more focused on educating your audience on a particular topic, answering their questions, addressing their pain points, that sort of thing. And sometimes it's called cornerstone content, sometimes it's flagship content. Yeah, and I mean, often it is used by companies for kind of SEO purposes. So if you have a web page where you have this cornerstone content, it can really help to draw traffic to you. But yeah, I think it's really, if I had to give kind of 5 key characteristics of cornerstone content, I would say it's robust and well researched. It offers value to your audience, so it's educational. It's typically kind of evergreen, so it stays relevant for a long term, not just kind of relevant today. It's something your audience would actually seek out. So it's not, no one's sitting there saying, oh, I really got to get my hands on that company's 500-word blog post. But, a report, an industry guide, a podcast, that sort of thing is cornerstone content. That's something that really an audience might want because they see value in it. It's answering their questions. So those, and then, the fact I think it's usually something that an organization is proud of because they really put in effort into it. Yeah, I think those are kind of the hallmarks of cornerstone content to me.
So it's not like a one-page info sheet of services or a section on your website. It's content that's educational and not explicitly promotional.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's really interesting, because if it's educational and not explicitly promotional, why would a company create cornerstone content then?
That is a good question. Yeah, and I mean, not promotional. I would say that's not like the key focus of it. Of course, it can have some promotional elements. You might have a cornerstone content page on a website that does have a CTA that leads off to somewhere where that is more trying to nudge people along the sales process or the that process. But why would you create something that is really more educational focused? I think a few key reasons. It can really, I think, first and foremost, can serve as an audience magnet. If it's really well researched, it's a thorough, valuable, interesting piece of content that is answering questions. that's something that this particular audience you've created it for is going to want, and they're going to be interested in, and that will then help with building traffic. If there's already traffic going, it's the sort of thing that people will share. So audience magnet is a big one. I love that it is really good foundation for content marketing efforts. So if you invest a lot of time and effort to really create one great piece of content, say an industry guide, that's then the foundation that you can then go back in and say, okay, now we're going to chop this up into a dozen social posts. We're going to create 3 blogs from this. We're going to make a video series based on this content. So instead of trying to piece all those things together without kind of knowing the big picture of what you're talking about, it really gives you that foundation to work from. It also, helps establish subject matter expertise and authority for an organization or an individual. And that's really a good thing if you can get your audience to start associating your company with this particular topic. It's like, okay, I've got a question about, whatever it is, digital marketing, and then who is my source? Where have I found good information that explains the topics and answers my questions? This company, through their Cornerstone content, that's really the basis then that you can build trust, and you can hopefully then nurture a longer term relationship. So it's not necessarily leading to sales leads right away, but it's building an audience that you can then nurture into hopefully customers down the road.
Nice. So basically, Cornerstone content is great for connecting with all those prospective customers who are not currently in buying mode, because in the B2B space, it takes a long time. Customers are all doing a lot of research. It takes a while for them to get to the point where they may want to contact you. So I guess if you can answer their questions and introduce them to new ways of thinking about their pain points, you can become that go-to resource. Right? And then maybe
Exactly.
6 or 12 months down the road, when they do shift into buying mode, you'll be top of mind when they come looking for solutions related to your topic.
Yeah, exactly. And all of that is really going to help, support the business goals of kind of boosting your brand and again, giving you that audience that you can then grow into leads and customers down the road.
Cool. So Karsten, you've told us about the what and the why. How about we talk about the how? What would you say are the key steps to creating great Cornerstone content?
Right. I would say as a big caveat, like it depends on kind of the format that you're going with. But I think kind of some core steps that are there for most types of Cornerstone content are probably, first off, you need to figure out kind of, pick the right topic, find something that's relevant to your business and your business goals, but also something that, it's an area where you have unique experience or expertise, where you kind of excel or stand out, or maybe have a differentiator compared to other competitors. So yeah, choose the right topic. Digging deep and doing good research. I think that's really a critical part of making good Cornerstone content. This isn't something that you outsource to a freelancer and say, give me 800 words on this topic, and they're going to go off and just Google a little bit, and that's your content done. I think this is really something where it benefits from, especially talking to your internal subject matter experts to get all their input on whether it's your industry or just this specific topic within the industry. I think if you can, it really helps to go out and talk to the audience that you're hoping to serve with this type of content. So talk to whether it's your customers or prospects or something, get their input, find out what are the challenges they're facing, what are the questions they have. That's going to help make sure that it's relevant to them. Make sure you do it right and make invest in quality. And by that, I mean, just like, there's so much content out there these days. It's so much easier just to scroll past something, to ignore something. So I think it really makes sense and is worthwhile to take the time to, make it well written, make it well designed, make it well recorded, depending on the format of the content. And then lastly, and really critically, I think is distribution of this content. You can create the most beautiful industry guide or survey or whatever. if you're not getting it out in front of your audience because you have no distribution strategy or plan, it's going to gather dust and be useless. So really figure out how to do that, and whether that's investing in SEO, having a social strategy, other distribution channels that you use, and then make that an ongoing thing, so that you're not just creating this great thing, sending it out there once, and then hoping that it's going to work magic for you. No, it's an ongoing effort. You have to find ways to keep getting in front of your audience, getting it to them, helping them find it and come to you. Yeah, I think if you can hit those 4 steps, then you're really on your way to creating some great Cornerstone content.
Nice. So it's make sure it's relevant, make sure you do your research. So don't go to ChatGPT and don't outsource it to someone overseas to write it for you. Make sure it's done well, it's of quality, so well written, designed, and make sure you distribute it properly. Those are the 4 big ones, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So that's a good summary. What does that look like in practice? Can you provide like a real world example to illustrate this?
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, as you know, because we worked on it together, in 2020, we created kind of a niche industry guide for a client of ours, Raymond James Limited. They're a leading independent investment dealer here in Canada. And we had been working with them around their financial advisor recruitment efforts. So fairly specialized, fairly niche aspect of their business and what they were doing. But basically, they're trying to recruit more financial advisors to join their firm, and we were working with them on a strategy for that recruitment. And from one element of that, we kind of developed and conceptualized this industry guide. So that starting point, that first step, what's the topic? We ended up choosing the topic transition best practices. So transitioning here referring to when a financial advisor moves their business from one firm to another. That is a big step for any advisor, and it does happen kind of regularly depending on the firm. But we realized that it was really a key pain point for advisors, because there is a lot of risk and uncertainty and questions when they go into something like that, because it's their business on the line. If they botch the transition, they could really botch the business that they've built. It's an evergreen topic, so it's something that's, it's not just relevant right now or in 2020. It's an ongoing basis that it's something that people are interested about. But it's also, we discovered, kind of a topic that's rarely openly discussed by firms. It's maybe discussions between peers about, hey, how did you do that move? But it's not something that the individual firms in that industry were talking about openly. In part because it's a very competitive topic and a competitive industry, and it was also a topic that was highly relevant to the business goals that Raymond James kind of had and was coming to us for help for. So yeah, that's how we kind of ended up. Okay, this is our topic: transition best practices. Next step was then the research. How do we make sure that this is really a piece of content that is useful and answering those questions and addressing the pain points? So again, we went and did the research to get those answers. So we talked to internal subject matter experts at Raymond James that were involved in different aspects of that transition process from the firm side of things. The people that support, they have got a dedicated transition support team for incoming advisors. So we talked to the people who run that team. We talked to the people who, are involved in recruiting advisors to find out what are those conversations like. And then more, really importantly, we also had calls and spoke with a lot of advisors across the country who had recently transitioned to Raymond James. So they had firsthand experience of before moving, having those questions and concerns about what's it going to be like when I move. And then they went through the process, and then they had already, been established for a little while at Raymond James, so they could tell us kind of about that whole process and what were their, the things that they wanted to know about. And so that was really, ultimately gave us real world insights and input to then create this content from. Quality, quality design and writing and packaging it up in a really nice way. I mean, we, as you know, we put a lot of thought and effort into that. We worked with the Raymond James team to have professional photography done of the advisors that we featured in terms of photos. We really put some effort into not just making this another boring industry guide. In terms of the format, how we structured it all, it was really thoughtful, and I think the results kind of showed in terms of how that was received. It was just something that stood out and was a bit different. And then the last thing again is distribution, and for that we that is an ongoing effort, but we really looked at distribution through multiple channels. So we helped them set up a LinkedIn ad campaign to kind of get people aware of this guide and get it in front of the audience that we were targeting. We used HubSpot and connected that to that LinkedIn campaign to set up kind of an email nurturing and follow-up campaign after that. We worked with the Raymond James team to create a landing page using content from this guide, and then tying that in with more information about their offering to advisors. We created customized versions of the guide for their individual branch managers at Raymond James to distribute. So that was really was and continues to be kind of looking at different ways. How can we get this valuable content that we put a lot of effort into creating? How can we make the most use of it and get it in front of the most the widest audience that's relevant to this business? So yeah, in a nutshell, that's a good example, I think, of what we did.
Yeah, we dove really deep into this one. I think the critical part of it was the first thing you mentioned about figuring out what the right topic would be, because that pretty much sets the stage for the entire effort. How long do you think this took, Karsten? Do you remember?
Yeah,
Months?
I believe we launched it in June 2020. I think it was probably a 4-month process, I think.
Right.
Before that, we had already been working with the Raymond James team on kind of the recruitment strategy. So like, this content piece is just one element within a bigger strategy. So we already had kind of some of that understanding of their needs and situation and market. So if we had gone in and wanted to create a piece of content like this without knowing somebody's business or their industry as well, maybe it would at least take us a little bit longer to do it well, because we like to be thorough and we like to really be strategic about that. But yeah,
but that's why it's called
4 to 6
cornerstone
months.
content. It's something that requires so much time. You have to invest so much of your energy into doing it right. It's not a one-off.
No, but then I think it really pays off, because you put a lot of time and effort into it, but again, this is something that we created in 2020. They're still using it today. The content, the questions that we address in there, the answers that we provide are still relevant today. And as in most B2B industries, I mean, the actual number of people or the percentage of your audience that's in buying mode or in transitioning mode or whatever is really small, is maybe 5%. So what about the other 95% who are aware of this topic, but they're not ready right now to make a purchase or to be recruited? This content really helps lay the foundation for that, and then again, chop it up, keep repurposing it, keep sharing it. That's the way to do it.
So speaking of payoffs, what were the results and what was the impact of this for Raymond James?
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of actual, there were over 500 downloads of this guide within the first 6 months. So this content was being consumed. There was good increase in traffic to this landing page. We know kind of anecdotally from the Raymond James team that there was good feedback from both internal and external kind of industry peers. And it sparked conversations and kind of, traffic and awareness. And then, this is probably the hardest to gauge, but I mean, from what we understand, like it has kind of helped with the building of trust, as, showing that Raymond James was really out there providing useful information, not just, here's our sales pitch kind of information. And, we've since gone on to develop 4 more guides in this series. So it's really, there's there's something good happening there. So we're continuing with that.
Cool. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that they were willing to try something new with us and with this rather than playing it safe, because you really can fall into that trap of just doing something conventional and sticking to what others in the industry are doing. And as you described, the transition guide really is a good example of how to do Cornerstone content right. So we are running out of time. It's already past 20 minutes. Can you give us like a 30-second of the what, why, and how of Cornerstone content?
Absolutely. I'll go even quicker, I think. So I think ultimately think of Cornerstone content as really a great audience magnet with in-depth educational content that answers your audience's questions and addresses their pain points. It's really the foundation of broader content marketing efforts. If you do it right, or to do it right, rather, it's got to be relevant and well-researched. And high quality content, and then you have to really focus on your distribution. And if you do all of those things, you can earn trust and you can establish subject matter authority, and that's really the basis then for building and kind of nurturing longer term business relationships.
Awesome. Thanks, Karsten. It was amazing. And that's a wrap. And thank you to those of you who've tuned into our session for today. See you next time.
Thanks for joining.